This is going to be a short video to show you how to attach the signatures onto the mini albums. And I'm having difficulty picking out papers for the main pages, which I think are the covers. So rather than decide that without everything in, I'm going to just decide it later. The papers come in 3 different sizes, 12, 8, and 6. I use 12 to do the backgrounds and the book binders. But the pages, these pages are too big. These are cut out from the 12s. So this is a card that fit nicely, but I didn't have a lot of cards. So I cut out the 8x8 squares, and I think I'm going to use that for my accent. The other thing I'm still working on are the backs of the pages. There's so many colors and so many patterns, but only one of each because they're two-sided paper. And so I'm really having difficulty, and I thought if it was in a book, I would be able to see which one went better. So, and for my 12x12s, I still have a few of these great squares that I decorated the box with. So all these are just cooking in my brain. So meanwhile, I thought I would just show you how to put the signatures on, and that would help me with my process. Now the back of my cover pages, I already have double-sided tape, but I'm also going to apply some turbo tacky glue to make sure it stays on well. But I'm not going to put the backs on first. I'm going to put the signatures on this little video. So I have 2 different types of pages. They're not completed yet, but the main part is decorated, and I'm going to put them in backwards. So I have 4, what are they called, on my spine? 4 hinges, and this is, oh, here's my other picture, the sweet kiss here. I have 4 hinges, and I've already burnished some double-sided tape on. I'm going to remove the backing, and on these pages I'm going to put just a little bit of glue along with this. I find that it gives you some flexibility and movability. So I have a plain piece of paper here so you can see the back of my spine, and I have them backwards. So I'm going to put this is my page that opens up. I'm going to put that on backwards on that spine. And I'm not going all the way down to the center. I'm leaving a little bit of gap at the score line. And I want to make sure that it's straight in the album, because this first page will be my guide for all the others. Now this still leaves this all free, so you can open up the flaps, but I'm opening to the middle so I can burnish it down. My Teflon tool here, so it's nice and strong adherence. This will also have one more 4x6 photo, but I wasn't sure which one I wanted yet, so now I'm turning it backwards and burnishing it that way too. Make sure we got a good stick. I see a little bit of a bubble, so I'm going to lift it up. So I think with these in, and I'm just burnishing hard, so there might be a little bit of glue seepage, and I'll wipe that off. A little baby wipe here. Okay. Now this has about 1/8 of an inch along the side. Now that was the back of the page attached to the front of the spine of the hinge. So I'm going to do it again with the other format. Make sure I have my paper lined up the way I want it, and I think I want it this way. Oh, add a little glue in case. 2 reasons. When it dries, it's very secure, and when it's wet, it gives you a little movability. Not going all the way down to the seam. Making sure it's lined up with the first one. Opening and burnishing. Flipping to the back. Burnishing again. And that one's a little crooked, so I'm going to just make sure it's lined up with the one before it. Okay, I now have two signatures in. Go back to the next pattern, which is the same as the other, but it already has a 4x6 added and a little pocket here, so you can put something in. I just haven't decorated this tab yet. I'm down to scraps of my 12x12, so I want to make sure I know what's going there before I use up those scraps. The paper is beautiful. I ended up using almost three whole packages of the background. I like the background because then I can add the photos and I don't have to cover them with my pictures. So I'm glad that Stamperia is making background pictures, background papers now. It makes the decorative papers go much further. Okay. There's so many layers. I want to get it straight. So I'm going to open up my book or my signature so I can get to the bottom page and see if it looks straight. Go down just a little. Taking it off because it wasn't straight. Reattaching. Now I'll burnish it in place. And the reason I ended up using 3 packages is because I really liked the background paper and I wanted the books to coordinate. So my books are actually opposites until we get to these backs of the pages, which I haven't covered yet. Because I only have one package of 8x8 and the fronts and backs are different. So I want to see how it coordinates best with my photos. Okay, and last signature. Take off your lining again, lining of your double-sided tape. Add a little bit of tacky. You can spread that around with your finger if you want. I always make a mess when I do, so that's why I use a paper wipe, a baby wipe if I need it. And the front page goes last. Still making sure it's lined up straight. Open up my little pocket here. There we go. A little bit of extra glue. Turn it over to the back. And I got a lot of glue leakage here. Yeah, put a little bit too much on. I'm still going to burnish it. Squeeze out any extra glue. And this is, now when we go to decorate, the backs of these pages, it will cover up the seam we just made and it'll make it even more secure. Okay, so this is all 4 signatures. Looks pretty good. That one looks a little long. It's sticking out a little bit. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this one a little longer. So the last one I just put on. I'm hoping I can just take this off. Yep, I can. Since I have that glue, I'm going to go a little lower for this one. I'm going to add a little bit of more adhesive since I use it up. I'm going a little lower that way. It won't stick out the front of the book. So this one I'm going to go, it won't seem quite as flat to begin with. There we go. But I don't want the edges to be showing through the matte album. Let's try that. Okay, now when that is dry, I then can add my inside pages. The fun part of the inside pages is I took the three-dimensional stickers they have, and we have a slide pocket that's going to cover up. This is a slide closure, and I'm going to pick out my colors which go best with the pictures. Okay, moving on. So these will be added later, and I'll